Today, we're talking about problematic pornography use. I'm Dr. Rena Malik, urologist and pelvic surgeon. And if you're new here, I make weekly content on urologic health, bladder health, sexual health, and so much more. If you like what you see, please make sure to subscribe and share this channel with your friends. As a disclaimer, this video is not meant to shame anyone. If you're using pornography and it's enjoyable and it's not causing any negative consequences to your life, then there's no harm in using it.
So I totally get the disclaimer, and she's a medical professional, so I think it's important that she's saying that. At the same time, I don't think there's a single person watching pornography who's not experiencing negative effects. So this video is for everybody. I think we should just make that clear.
However, if you're using pornography on a regular basis and getting strong urges to use it and avoiding normal daily activities like going to work or hanging out with friends, maybe needing more and more pornography to reach climax and feeling like you've lost control, these are signs that pornography may be a problem for you. Also, if generally you're feeling frustrated, unsatisfied with life, and pornography is the only thing that's bringing you joy or happiness, then that's another sign that you need to really take a look and watch this video. For people who have problematic use of pornography, this can have really significant life consequences. It can lead to social isolation when you're spending more and more time watching pornography rather than doing other activities. You can start feeling very lonely. It can also lead to decreased productivity.
Yeah, the other thing, like the social isolation is because, you're not wanting to engage in activities as much, but the other side of it is that watching pornography reduces your relationship capacity. I mean, people who have grown up watching pornography have way lower skills and capabilities to have meaningful relationships, which is part of the reason why they isolate, or sometimes they have lots of friendships, they have lots of relationships, but there's no substance to them. So it's a really big one, especially now because the world is more lonely, and men especially are very lonely right now. And this is a huge part of it. It's not just that porn, takes away those opportunities per se. It's actually that porn robs you of the skills required to have meaningful relationships.
Increased productivity in work or school. And in some cases, it can lead to increased mental health issues like depression or anxiety. And lastly, it can cause problems in your relationships. And if you're spending a lot of money purchasing pornography, it can end up being very financially problematic, meaning you can end up spending more money than you have on things like buying pornography. So if you're in this category, what are some tips that you can use to help break the cycle? Well, first and foremost, you want to delete all access to pornography that you have. Delete all the pornography on your computer, on your phone, delete the websites, make sure you don't have access to them, and find an accountability partner.
Okay, so I love that she started with that. I think that's amazing. This is often overlooked. We get really quick into like the things that you should add, but she's right. You actually want to start with deletion. I'm going to expand on that list a little bit. So in addition to that, we also want to delete contacts. You know who I'm talking about. The people that kind of get your juices going, or the people that you've had inappropriate relationships with, the people that, are some way, one or the other, fueling your pornography use. I would delete those contacts. That's actually where we found a lot of our clients kind of have found a loophole sometimes when we're talking about this. They're like, yeah, I deleted the apps and I cleared my history and I deleted all the files and I erased all the photos and videos. And then, we'll ask, so, okay, what about contacts? I'm like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, well, exes, one night stands, people that send you stuff. Are you out of all the group chats where guys are like sharing pornography videos with each other? And then it's like, oh, right, I forgot about those. So I think those are important. The contacts, and then the groups is the other one. Make sure that you're out of any groups that send triggering material or that kind of stuff.
Find someone who will keep you honest in saying, did you use it today? And you're going to tell them honestly if you did or you didn't.
Okay, so here's the thing. That doesn't work. I don't know anybody who's got free of pornography because they built a system where somebody checked in with them every day and then they had to give an honest report back, and then one day they just stopped watching. The problem with these systems, and this is from somebody who was addicted for 15 years and did most of these systems, and including this. The problem with this is, number one, your accountability partner will text you every day for how long? a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, but a couple years, I kind of doubt it. Number two is you can lie, and people do lie, or they kind of sugarcoat it. And number three is, how does this change your behavior? Does it motivate you because you have to report to your accountability partner? It might for a little bit, but if we really want lasting change, this kind of system, this is not going to be your solution here. Now, I'm not even against accountability. I just think it's the cherry on top of your recovery solution. I don't think it's one of the core options that you should consider, because I just haven't seen it work for people. I've seen it give little bursts of freedom and this sort of euphoria, like, yeah, we're doing it, and I got another buddy in my corner. But if we're talking about getting actual results, I just don't think it's a good option to consider, especially if you don't have some of the other fundamentals in place.
The third thing you can do is figure out the cues that are triggering you to use pornography. So take note of what's happening when you get the urge to use pornography. Are you depressed? Are you bored? Are you sad? Are you lonely? What exactly is causing you to feel this urge? Is there something that happens pretty routinely before you go watch pornography?
Okay, that's an amazing point. This is really overlooked, but when we work with clients, I mean, one of the first things we do is build a little system for them to track triggers. And we actually go a little bit deeper than this. We'll actually ask for external cues versus internal cues, where external cues is like an attractive girl at the gym, or I was hungry, or I was up late at night on my devices, versus something that's internal, where it's like I was feeling stressed, I was feeling anxious, I was feeling disconnected. And if you do this long enough, you'll actually start to identify patterns where it's like, every once in a while I feel triggered because, I'm alone. But actually 90% of the time it's because of stress. And now we have a clue into what your solution is going to be, which is managing your stress better. And so this is actually really great, not just so that you can kind of nip things in the bud or be aware. It can actually inform your solution if you pay close enough attention to it.
The fourth thing is then identify what happens when you get the urge itself to watch pornography. How does your body feel? Do you feel kind of tense in your muscles? Do you feel your heart racing? Do you feel very uncomfortable sensation in your chest or your stomach? Take note of that feeling. That's your urge feeling. And once you've really figured out what that urge feeling is, identify it. Take note of it. Sometimes it can even help to give it a color or a shape. For example, you could say, oh, it's the purple dinosaur. And so whenever you get the urge, you're like, oh, it's the purple dinosaur. You can't fight the urge. You just have to acknowledge it, know that it's there, and know that it will go away on its own, but it's going to be there. And so allow the urge and then let it pass. And as you keep practicing that, the urges will get less strong and less bothersome, but they will still certainly be there. You will never get away from having urges to do something that your brain has habituated itself to do, and really allow you to overcome this problem.
So the genius of that technique is when you label something, you can control it. So part of the reason that urges and temptations sometimes feel so overwhelming or impossible to resist is because we don't have control over them. And there's something really powerful about being able to apply a very accurate and articulate label that allows you to gain control and master the situation. It sort of takes all the sting out of it. The one thing she said at the end there, which is that you'll never be able to not have urges, not fully true. What she is saying is true, though. The goal is not to eliminate urges or eliminate desires, but once you do quit pornography, as somebody who's been clean for 8.5 years, I very rarely have the desire or the urge to watch pornography. So your brain can change eventually. To say never, I would not agree with that. But I do get what she's saying. Like it takes time to get there. And initially, when you're early on in recovery, your goal is not to suppress urges. Your goal is to actually manage them and make it through them successfully.
And lastly, now that you know what your cues are, your triggers are, and what happens when you get the urge, write those things down. So for example, if you feel depressed, write down, I feel depressed, and then I get the urge and I feel my heart racing and my muscles tense up. And then you go watch pornography. So that's your habit loop. Now you want to break the habit loop. So what are you going to do when you have that cue and that trigger? What can you replace with pornography? What else gives you dopamine or joy? Maybe that's going for a walk. Maybe that's talking to a friend. Maybe that's reading a book or taking a bath or even just doing a quick workout like 20 jumping jacks or 5 push-ups. And maybe that will help you get a little bit of endorphin rush and avoid the need to use pornography.
Oh man. So the challenging thing about that is you're kind of like just replacing the dopamine hit with something else. And granted, the things that she listed are healthier, but there's usually deeper reasons within the heart of the person why they're watching. And I'm a lot more interested in exploring solutions there. So if you need to get yourself through a difficult moment, yeah, break the habit loop, sure. But if you want to be free of pornography long term, and this is actually probably why she said you'll never be free of urges, because when all you do is break the habit loop, the urges never go away. But if you have more of a roots based approach and you kind of figure out what's causing all this in the first place, actually, number one, you don't need to break the habit loop because you're going to break things at a more fundamental level. But secondly, then the urges and the desires do go away because your heart begins to change. So there's definitely a deeper realm to this. She's not wrong, but there's more. There's more there.
If you do watch it or if you do give in to the urge, don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. Know that things will happen. It will not be a straight line. And just keep working at it. Keep writing those things down. Keep practicing. And eventually you'll get over it. If none of those things work, there are other options available to you to go seek help. See a psychologist, and they will maybe offer you things like cognitive behavioral therapy or medications like antidepressants, mood stabilizers, or naltrexone, which is a medication that's used for other types of dependencies to reduce cravings.
Yeah, and this is actually a really good point, which is that recovery doesn't happen overnight, and recovery is not some, linear progression. It's a bumpy road, and it really is important that you stay consistent with it. That's where accountability and some of those other things she was talking about can be really valuable, to keep you on track, to keep you focused. But really, you need a roots-based approach to this. That's what you want to be consistent with, because that's going to give you the best long-term outcome. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video.